Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Tales from the Fandom. I cannot believe it is the month of November, and I am joined by somebody that I had happened to stumble across I had happened to stumble across them on Instagram back, I think, in February, because somebody shared their work as she was dressed as Penny Proud from the Proud family, and that was like almost an insta like of I've got to follow this person and check out what else they do. And I was not displeased since February. And, it's November now, 9 months of getting to watch her content. And I have Lily. You might know her on Instagram as Lily as can be. How are you doing today, Lily?
I'm doing great. It's funny that you came across Penny Proud of all things. My legendary recent staple of characters. That's the big one. That's the moneymaker right now. But I'm doing great.
Yeah, it's amazing because I think you do TikToks and you do them with your family as the Proud family too.
Yes, I'm known on TikTok as LeanMeanTrashMachine, and that is a mom approved username. I was like, well, we'll put trash in the username, to really set people's expectations up, if not, raise them. And yeah, we've been doing Proud Family since July 2020. I came up with that idea while I was like visiting my family at home, and I just said, hey, you guys down? I already have the pieces, and they were good to go. And then since then, that's just something I've had to do every few weekends is come up with some Proud Family content for the people.
That is so wonderful. It's something that I love when people are talking about like the fandoms that they're into or the things that they do, and that it's like a whole family thing, or like that their dad or their mom got them into fandom and they watched it with their grandma, or something like that, where it's all inclusive. That's like one of the best things ever.
Oh my gosh, it really is. And it's just, I'm like really just grateful to have a family that's like, I don't know, it's kind of as dweeby as I am. Like, I mean, obviously, when I was really into anime as in my youth, they weren't really as into that, but they were super supportive of it. But they themselves were just obsessed with seeing movies, and just like my mom when she was young was like Star Trek was her thing, and then just all of us we've always loved Star Wars and stuff like that. So we just grew up with that environment of just loving media and fandom and content like that. So it was just completely okay for us to all have our own individual fandoms, and we would just share that with each other. So it's just great. I'm just happy to have a family that's cool with that. Maybe not my siblings, they're like, I don't want to be behind a camera at all. But my mom and my dad are okay with it.
Oh, that's incredibly wonderful. I know, I think like if I wanted to do something like that, I don't know if my sister would be totally down with it, but I think she'd try at least, or get some level of involvement.
I mean, if there's something that your sister like really likes, like sometimes you can ease them in. You're like, okay, you only have to say one line, and like the costume is literally like a t-shirt type of thing. Those are the things you can like warm them up, and then that's how you get them down to do the crazy, silly stuff. Like, all right, now today you're gonna have pink hair. Hope you're okay with that. I already bought the wig. Let's go. Like that's how you do it. You just sell them up. I always will tell my parents, I'll be like, the first thing I'll say is, it's not going to take that long. And my dad's like, here we go. That's the setup for, we're going to be doing this for like 30 minutes, and I got to go put the tie and the overalls on, don't I? I'm like, yep, but it won't take that long. That's all you need to say. But it's just been, honestly, it's been so fun, and it opened up a lot of doors. Like I had been doing TikTok for fun, like a lot of people in 2020 had been doing, just as like a outlet to create. And so I'm just glad that that was the thing a lot of people, attached onto. They were like, this is great. Like, this is the big thing. And so now I feel like I have a platform to really work off of now.
That's really great. I love hearing stories like that, and I know that 2020 was such a something. It's definitely something where you
Ugh.
look back and it's like I can't believe the time that we spent and the things that we did, and it's amazing to see how many people just got to create something, like whether
Right.
it's creating on TikTok, or I know a lot of my friends started streaming on Twitch, or
Oh,
people started making podcasts, and it was like all sorts of stuff where they were able to stop for a moment and be like, hey, let's get creative and start doing something.
Right. Oh my gosh, no, it's kind of beautiful to see. It was like sad at the beginning, of 2020 because it was just like we are all just like being a little miserable. Everybody's baking bread and painting and making trying to think of 20 different I mean, I definitely did all of the cliche early 2020 activities of like frothy coffee or whatever. We were doing them because we were all unemployed just with nothing to do in the house. And then later it was just like, well, all right, it's time to create. I mean, that's the least we can do when we have all these resources at home and time and a camera. Why not? So it's just nice to see. And then so many communities were born after that. I mean, there's so many like Instagrammers and TikTokers and cosplayers that I met just through us all bonding over all we have to do is, be Tommy Pickles in front of a camera, whatever it might have been that we ended up bonding over. I'm like, oh, this is just great. This is beautiful. And I even like was asked to like host in a podcast, and I was like, I don't know. I don't think I have the qualifications. And he's like, no, like, why not? It's all the time. And so I'm just glad that that door opened. Just, I mean, I'm not glad about the pandemic, mind you. Like that was
Right,
not a
right.
good time for anybody, but at least a lot of people found with all that downtime, something to really do with it.
Exactly. I'm here to talk with you and get to hear some cool stories about things that you're into, and you brighten my day when you brought up the first thing that we're going to talk about, because off the recording, when we were first getting to chit chat, I had just finished reading an article on Polygon about it, and it's one of those movies that came out during college that really bonded like some of my friends and I together. And it's
Hmm.
amazing how like this little movie that could like spawn so many wonderful things. And we're going to talk about Disney's Lilo and Stitch.
I could cry. It's truly my favorite film. Like I say that full chested, favorite film of all time. And it just seems so silly, because I feel like especially with Disney films, people, they usually opt for the princess thing, and that's totally fine, or just like or like a live action thing, or it's whatever. Lilo and Stitch, to me, it's not that it's like underrated or anything. I do feel like there is a good appreciation for it, but because it's not like a traditional musical, I feel like people don't really put it as top tier Disney. And
Hmm.
that's just disappointing to me. I think it really left a mark, especially just in my generation, of like it's just odd. It's strange. There's elements to it that make it so different than like what a typical film is, but there's still like this heartwarming familial beauty to it that it's just always stuck with me because I saw it like I literally still have my mom. I guess my mom. I assume if she's listening. Maybe you gave me this book, but I have a read along book, like the first one that came out after the movie, that they gave me, I guess, after it came out. And it came out like 2000, like 2001, like late 2001, 2002. And I just remember ever since I sat down at a theater and watched it, like falling in love with it. So I'm so glad that you are as excited to talk about it as I am.
I am. It's one of those movies where you're like, I can't believe this is a Disney movie, because
Right.
it's just got so many things that fall outside of the norms of, because we're talking like Lilo and Stitch is one of those post Renaissance era movie. Like it falls outside of the
Right.
Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, like all of those. Then you get to like Hercules, Hunchback, that kind of set area. Treasure Planet was like their
Oh
big
yeah.
movie for that year. But Lilo and Stitch, because the way that they did the artwork with the watercolors and the music and setting it in
Oh my
Hawaii,
gosh.
I mean, it's really incredible. And I think one of the things that this, and I'm going to reference this article because I just read it today, so I apologize, but thank you to Polygon for writing about it. But they had talked about how they had finished the movie and they got to see the first um trailer for it, and they were like, no, this trailer is all wrong, it's terrible, it's like standard generic trailer. And they said that this isn't really going to get the audience, and they said, well, how about we have Stitch show up in other movies?
Oh my gosh.
And
That was the
like where
best.
he's
That was
like,
the best bit.
Yeah, like he steals Jasmine from Aladdin, or he's like crashing the chandelier in Beauty and the Beast, and it's like that set the tone for kind of what you're going to expect, but then you get like this like I'm going now. See, now I'm going to reference Shrek, like the Onion. Like Lilo is just such an
Yes.
onion movie with so many layers. Like you have them almost getting like Lilo and Nani being almost taken away by social services, and it's like this is a Disney movie.
Right. Well, it's one of those rare movies where I'm like, there's something about each character that I like that I feel like usually in a movie there's like a couple characters where I'm like, oh, I could care less about them. And this is a movie where I actually care about every character for their different reasons. I mean, Nani, you don't even realize, like as a child, I'm not even putting together the that she's not even fully grown. Like she is still probably like 19, 20, and now she has had this responsibility to take care of this like 7-year old all of a sudden, which like you don't realize how much work and responsibility and stress that would actually cause on her. And as a child, I'm just sort of like, because I have an older sister, so my brain as a kid was just like, older sisters, they're so dramatic, and I'm like, now looking at it, I'm like, but she had to become a mother essentially, and like the stress of like, Culprit Bubbles coming in and like the social workers and just everything that she would have to do, and like why she was so concerned about how Lilo was acting, and the acceptance you want to give a child who is maybe a little bit different and weird and quirky, but you're also like, okay, but I don't want you taken away from me. It's just so crazy. And I saw a lot of myself in Lilo. I think like as a kid, I'm like, oh, she's a little odd, she's a little different, and my classmates might think I'm a little strange and I'm interested in like weird stuff, or I'm silly and loud and annoying, and I would see in Lilo that she was like that, but she didn't like stop that ever. She didn't try to, she if she did, it would be like for a second to maybe get on Myrtle's side or something, but for the most part, she's like, I'm weird, get with it. And I was like, I love to see that in a character. We don't normally get to see that in like, a character like, the princesses or even Hercules. There's just like a heroic, perfect quality about them. And I don't
Hmm.
know, it's just refreshing.
It is, and that's the thing that I think on initial viewing, right? Like, and I was college age at the time, so I'm 20, 21, 22 watching this, and I still didn't think about Nani's situation until probably 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Like, all this movie's
Right.
been out for ages, and I'm just thinking about, dang, like I can't imagine having like that kind of responsibility and fighting for Lilo, like you gotta get with it so that way we can stay together and not get separate. Like it's such a movie that really just hits for everybody watching it, like at a different stage of their life. It's just an incredible movie.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, like you were saying how like you were in college, like it would literally be like if somebody just gave you a child in college. It's like, this is yours now. And you're like, what? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? And like I can't even think of just like the price, the consequences of just having a kid at that age. So I mean, yeah, people do have a kid when they're like 19, 20 or something, but like not when
Hmm.
you're not expecting to. And so it's just all of that was going on in my head. And I remember because that movie, obviously, it came out like, I guess, roughly a year after 9/11. And I saw this YouTube video. I don't know if the Polygon article mentioned it at all, but they originally had this scene in it where when they like hijack, in the movie now they hijack like a alien spaceship, but
Yeah.
originally it was an actual plane that they did
Yep.
hijack. So yeah, they flew that through the film. It was not a good look, and so because all of that had recently happened, they had to go back to the drawing board and sort of re-scrape over top of that, and that's why that spaceship looks very much kind of like a plane because of that. Which I'm like, that's pretty incredible that animators were able to sweep in and do that quickly, and I do feel like that was respectful of knowing that that wouldn't sit well with a lot of people after those recent events. But obviously, as a kid, I wouldn't have even known that fact because I really had no concept of what was going on. But I just oh my gosh. I remember like the scene I just even when like Cobra Bubbles comes in and she's just like, I recently did that. I recently did that. Somebody said I really like it because there's this girl on TikTok, she does like these little acting bits and she was doing bits as Nani, and so I was like, well, I'll do it and I'll do Lilo because this scene lives in my head like rent free at this point. And she's like, I look both ways across the street, eat 4 meals a day, and get like disciplined. And like she's like, yeah, she disciplines me real good, she sometimes 5 times a day with bricks. I was like, I don't know why that scene has lived in my head every year. I'm like, that's just the kind of stuff that like siblings do, and that was the stuff that I still laugh at now. But now, Stitch, I will say, has lived on as like a legendary Disney character for sure. I mean, because like you were talking about those trailers, I remember how clever those were. Just him hijacking, like him coming up and, splashing Ariel and things like that. Like, that was a really great way to market him, where they're like this air of mystery of like, what is this thing? Like, what is this little blue guy and what are they going to do with him? And then it all comes together in that movie so well. But what a good marketing strategy on their part.
It is, and it's incredible. And again, reference to Polygon. They make a mention of how Stitch as a character stands like side by side with iconic princesses and these major Disney characters that have been around for ages. And now you have this character that is in a movie that wasn't like a big intended blockbuster movie, and you have merchandise and video games and rides
Right.
and direct to video movies and the cartoon show that they did. And now I guess they're talking about making a live action one, which I'm not like super high on right now. But
Right. Yeah.
they they mentioned, because in Japan Stitch is like a huge character, and I
Oh,
remember
yeah.
when I lived over there, it was Stitch and Pooh were like the really big like Disney characters. And
Oh,
apparently June 26th, because it's 626, is like Stitch Day in Japan, and like they have like
that's
different
incredible.
Stitches and different Stitch artworks in different cities, and whatever Stitch is known for, like whatever that city's known for. Like if they're known for green tea ice cream, Stitch is like eating the green tea ice cream and like the piece of artwork or something. And it's like, I can't believe this.
I mean, all I got out of that was that I need to move over to Japan because that's incredible. I literally have heard that because my friend, she has done a program over there, and she's doing it again. So I was like, oh yeah, I have to, like, eventually I want to go, so I might as well visit while she is in Japan. And she was talking about, she's like, yeah, like their Disney is pretty incredible, and like I'm pretty sure it's their Disney, like their tiki room at Disney World, like includes Stitch, and like he's just so much more involved over there. Not that he isn't in like Disneyland and Disney World. I mean, he is there. He's a present character. But I mean,
Hmm.
I know his ride at Disney World. I liked it. Like, I kind of loved and hated it as a kid because like it used to be this other alien ride that was apparently freaky and
Yeah,
scary.
the alien encounter was really creepy.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, I would have hated that as a kid, but the Stitch one I was kind of okay. It still was creepy though. I'll be honest that the Stitch
Yeah.
one was nearly just as kind of scary because he's like, it's dark. I don't know what's going on. There, he's breathing corn dog breath. There's chili dog breath down my neck, and I'm a little unsettled. So I could see why like it wasn't a good ride. It wasn't like gonna last very long, but I just wanted more Stitch representation in the parks in general, besides just like a meet and greet, because not every kid especially like likes the meet and greet type of thing. But now I'm like, oh, if I see Stitch in the park, like I have to, like, it is my duty to go like talk to him. And enough times I did a college program there, enough times I would go and like he would remember me, and I was like, oh, see, now you're gonna make me cry, buddy, because like at this point, like you're that important of a character to me that now you're gonna remember me, that from me visiting you like last week. Oh my goodness, it's just like now I have like a Stitch collection that has gotten a little out of control. So I've gotten a little bit more reasonable about it. I'm like, we don't need every Stitch plush, every Stitch pillow. We can dial it back. We have enough of those. But I still have like a Lilo and Stitch toy from like McDonald's forever ago. I'm like, all right, some of these things are just cool, so I'm gonna keep it around. Who knows? It'll just be fun story for the kids of the future. But I just feel like people when I tell people like how much I love Lilo and Stitch, they're like, "Oh, that's cute, that's nice." And I'm like, "You don't understand the hold that movie has had on me and the amount of like the backstory and how you're right. It really wasn't this movie they were intending to be a big blockbuster or anything. It wasn't supposed to be. But now they're gonna make a live action, which I kind of agree with you. I don't know if I'm really excited about that. I think they need to kind of cut out these live actions. I think they can stop with those for a little bit.
Yeah, I do. I'm like, I can appreciate wanting to do live action, but there was somebody I talked with one of my previous guests about the Beauty and the Beast movie that came out, right? And I said, there's a reason that the original animated Beauty and the Beast was nominated for an Oscar, and this live action one was clearly not in any potential Oscar contendership. Like,
Right.
there's a magic to the animated movies that you can't really replicate with live action.
Right. Like, I mean, there was a beauty to it. Like, I will say, I know when I saw it with my grandma and my mom, they really liked it. They actually just enjoyed, I think, the visuals of it. But to me, I was like, trying to explain to them, I'm like, yeah, it was really pretty. Like, there was elements of it that were beautiful, but I mean, that's just because they made something real, so they want to add different details. But to me, nothing will compare to seeing it first time and it's animated, and you know that the work that they put into the animation is just as much effort. Like it's just as involved. I mean, like you can't really, yeah, like you said, you can't really replicate that magic. See my categories. You can't really replicate that the same effect. So my fear with Lilo and Stitch is like, of course, they're gonna have to make Stitch realistic, and that might
Hmm.
take away some of his cuteness because he's just full of scary teeth and claws, and I don't really know
Right.
if that's just gonna work. Like they're gonna make him look like this demon blue koala, and like I don't really know if that's gonna work. At least for me, it's not gonna work. I don't know. I try to trust them, but every year they come out with a new live action. I'm like, all right, we can stop.
Listen up, Disney. It is not going to work with making him
It's
a blue
not gonna
koala.
work. Oh my! And I've seen like realistic Stitch dolls. Like people make them on Etsy, but I still feel like I'm like I don't know. Like if they want to go like I remember when Detective Pikachu came out. I feel like they did a good job with that because I feel like the Pokemon didn't look too different. They just looked more 3D and furry, I guess.
Hmm.
But I
Yeah.
feel like or with Sonic or something like that. Like maybe they could do it that way, but I still feel like Disney's like, no, he's got to be really like real. Like he's got to look like an animal alien thing, and I'm like, I just feel like it's just not going to transition well. And same with Jumba and Pleakley. Like I don't know if they're going to look right. It's just not going to
Yeah.
work.
I feel you on that. I definitely agree. It's like there's definitely something that it just I can't imagine seeing it and having it like you said translate to where people are like falling in love and buying more toys and wanting to wear like live action Stitch on a shirt or something.
Oh gosh, yeah, yeah. That's the thing is, I'm like, I don't remember seeing a lot of live action Lion King merch, that
Oh
people
my
were
gosh.
wearing. Because at that point, it's just a picture of a lion. Like it's like I could go to Target and get that. Why would I need to get the Disney $24 Lion King live action shirt when it's like to me that just looks like a real lion? So that's not the joy was really stripped out of that one. So I don't know how I feel about that one.
Now I do have I have a final question about Lilo and Stitch,
All right.
and I think it's a good one. Okay,
Oh
now
boy.
when you originally watched it, right? Like, who was your favorite character? But as you are now, wiser, maybe older. I'm not sure. I'm not going to throw age in there. Age is a number, not a feeling in your heart. But has your favorite character changed from when you originally watched it?
Ooh. I feel like yes and no. I feel like as a kid, I mean, I feel like I equally just liked the dynamic Lilo and Stitch had because I feel like I had emulated myself under her of like wanting to wish on a star for like friends that'll accept you or like family members that'll really like understand you. I guess like at that time I was like honestly I feel like I can see myself having like a friend or a pet even, where I'm like, this is your badness level. So I feel like I like the two of them pretty equally as a kid. Whereas now I'm like, obviously like I have an appreciation of Stitch, but more in like that I think he's just really, cute and quirky. But now I feel like I don't know, Nani's got a hold on me because I feel like she really stepped it up and there's a maturity to her, but still like an understanding and acceptance of her sister that I would love to emulate now. Like I even recently I had been nannying and I was like, I feel like, I totally get it now because kids really can say and act like Lilo does with some things where you're kind of just like question mark what like what are you talking about, and you just gotta roll with it because you don't want that kid to feel alienated at that moment. You're like, this isn't my job to make them feel like weirder than they might already feel when they go to school saying something. So I
Right?
feel like I like turned myself into Nani of like, okay, little one, all right, that sounds good. That sounds crazy, but sounds good. I feel like I've become more like her than I ever thought I would. 'Cause, at the time I was like, I want to be the weird. I'm just the weird girl. I mean, I'm still like Lilo. I think in my age now. I still, even all through high school and college, I was never bullied so much, but there was definitely people who viewed me as strange. And so I can
Hmm.
see through that lens now, but I don't know. I just feel like I'm a lot more like Nani or David though. I really like David, honestly. I'm like, he's underrated. I know we're always talking about the princes or whatever, but I was like, he was so handsome. And your name's David. You must understand.
I gotta respect Lilo and Stitch's David. Like, for everything that's going on, like he is definitely somebody that's just like, you know what? I'm there for you. If you need something, I'm there for you.
Right.
I am here for you and your sister and the crazy dog alien thing. Like, it
Oh,
is what
the
it is.
crazy dog. Yeah, yeah. He never understood Stitch, but he's like, "Well, it's a blue dog, and I'm here for you, I guess." Did you watch the series though?
I did. I actually watched as much of it as I could when it was airing, to the point like when the sequels came out. Like I would watch those too, and it's not as good as Lilo and Stitch, but
Oh
it
no.
it still scratched the itch, and I always was confused. Like, as big as Disney is, like they could have made so much extra money. I feel like having all those like extra experiments, right? Like as stuffed animals or plushies,
Right.
like Pokemon has nowadays like 800 plus Pokemon.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
could you imagine having like 626 experiments to like buy?
Yeah, I mean, literally, I'm like, they're always making new, like, collectible-esque, like, toys now. At least I see, like, in the parks, but online, too. You can go to Hot Topic and get, like, little plushies of all the characters. And I'm like, well, I don't care about getting the same characters over and over again. You're right. They easily could have had yes, a solid 626 characters to choose from, even if you got them randomly. I mean, it'd be hard to collect all of that, but people are collecting Funko Pops and stuff. I'm sure they could do it. I mean, like, I always loved, like, 625 or Ruben, the one that was talking, he was making sandwiches. And, like,
Yeah.
I loved him. I'm like, where was his merchandise? Like, I never saw that. I know, I have seen that in Japan sometimes. They have some of those characters, like in meet and greet form? I don't know if you've seen it though.
I think I've seen like the pink experiment a lot, like
Oh,
as far as like
Angel,
a
yeah.
plush of that, but it's beyond like Angel and Stitch. You don't really see many of the other ones like out there, or like anything really, and it's like I feel like they could have probably done more with that. I don't know why they didn't, but they could have.
Right. I mean, I mean, especially like it's just they all have like the same eyes. Like they're all pretty cute. Maybe they're a little weird, but I mean, Pokemon are no different. Where some of them aren't like the prettiest looking creatures in the world, but we still love them. So you're right. That was some easy money. Disney, if you're listening, like there's still a chance.
That's right. There is still a chance, and maybe reach out to Lily and me, and we can tell you why maybe making a live action Lilo and Stitch might not be a good idea, and where you can put that money towards.
Exactly.
Something
I will say
else.
right. I mean, I will say I think the director they have for it is good. I'm pretty sure he might be the same director as the guy that just did Shang-Chi. I'm not sure. And I do like his work, but still,
Hmm.
I still have my doubts. Good director or not, it could still be a problem.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Be like, we'll see about that. Shifting from Disney, which we're going to shift to something that Disney owns, but it's its own thing in its own right, which
They own
is you
everything.
have I know, and I live in Orlando, so it's like I get it all around me. It's like all around is Disney stuff. But we're gonna switch gears and talk about Marvel or the Marvel universe. And I guess my first question is like, are you a Marvel Cinematic Universe person, a Marvel in general person? Do you like comics? Do you like the video games, the cartoon shows, the movies? Like, where do you fall on the Marvel spectrum?
I'm definitely like a big MCU person, and I feel like a lot of people are. I mean, all through my childhood, even I have gravitated more toward film. And I mean, there's no shame in that. I feel like, my sister, was more of the reader of the family. Not that I wouldn't read, but I was more, gr- I don't know, I was just more drawn to visuals. And when the first Avengers came out, I remember like that was my entire personality for a while, was just like the Avengers. I remember for fun, I would mute the movie and I would just read all of the captions in different voices, and that was just like solid entertainment for me for some reason. But I was like, all right, it's time to be every one of these characters. I need a cap shield, I need like an iron blaster. Like I had all of these things. And I feel like the MCU did that for a lot of people. Because when Iron Man came out, I remember really enjoying it and seeing, and I remember my dad really liked it. But I don't remember like at that point yet being as like super attracted to it because I had no idea what it was going to turn into, and neither did America.
Hmm.
Nobody knew
Right?
that it was going to be this big set like that. It was going to end with Tony too. Like nobody knew all of that was coming. But I remember thinking, okay, you know what, superheroes? Never really thought of that. Like I had seen the Fantastic Four, and I liked that movie, but as I got older, I was like, all right, now I'm more interested in seeing more live action things than just the same, animated general audience type of stuff. And I
Hmm.
just recall the Avengers just being like that first, like one of the first action films to like really hold my interest for like weeks and months on end. And so now here I am, just like another person making Marvel content, but it's just fun. There's just so much to work with because Disney and Marvel keep stirring it and making up a new stew for us every day with Marvel content.
It's funny as somebody like because I grew up reading like the comics and watching the animated shows and stuff like that, and it's funny because you look back and Marvel at that time had licensed out like all of their big ones, right? Like Spider-Man, the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and they're holding the pot of, oh crap, like we need to we're going to make movies, but we're going to make movies with characters that like weren't A-list at the time. Like they no Spider-Man, no Wolverine, no
Right.
Fantastic Four, and they kick things off with Iron Man, and it's something where the movie hit right, and it's like, okay, I like this, and it also came out at the same time, like that same year as Dark Knight for Batman,
Oh yeah.
and I
That
was like
oof.
for me, I loved Iron Man more than Dark Knight just because I think it was like that comic book feel of a movie versus like the Christopher Nolan like Dark Knight of Batman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dark. Oh, yeah. Because it's not even that Dark Knight wasn't good or anything. It's just, especially for me, I agree. I was not as into the like dark, heavy, sad. I'm like, we get it. Your parents are dead. Like, I mean, like that sounds bad, but it was like at least with Iron Man, there was like there was like comedy in there. There was some, and like I just feel like it was a good blend of obviously bad things are happening, but we already have this character, who we know he's kind of like a narcissist, so we already kind of want to poke fun at him, but we also want him to sort of win out of this and see him power through. So, like, yeah, it has its heavy moments, of course, because most superhero movies do, but it still had enough. I don't know, comedy and brighter colors and action that I feel like Marvel has always been really good at, where you feel like you can take your 10-year-old to watch it and it not really be a big
Hmm.
problem or anything. Whereas Dark Knight, I'm like, I just feel like as a kid, I was not going to really be able to sit. Even if I loved Batman, I feel like I would just be so sad the whole time. I'd be like, this is pretty dark and this is just dark and violent. Everybody needs therapy here. Like that would be all that would be going through my brain. But you're totally right. We had no idea that it was like Iron Man of all things. That's what we're going to start with. But
Right?
it was a winner. It was a winner winner chicken dinner. Like it worked out for them. And then now we're just like walking around with like Iron Man on our t-shirts and like starting this whole year of I don't even know like what to expect ahead of us because there's just always a movie to expect from the MCU.
I know, and that's the one thing that I appreciate about Marvel, not only with the movies that they're doing, but also the TV shows, is that they're to the point now where they're like, you know what? Let's take a risk. Let's do this character that won't be expected. Like I remember when Guardians of the Galaxy was announced, and I'm like,
Oh.
who knows about them? Like I know about them, but they're not like mainstream. They're not characters that I think like you're gonna have a talking tree and a a raccoon, and it's like, but it worked. Or Ant like the fights with Ant Man where it's like Thomas the train engine is coming and it's like part of like the fight, and it's things where they're able to now really just like experiment with the style of TV show or movie and just throw things out there and be like, let's see how weird we can get.
Yeah, you're right. Because Guardians was such a gamble. Because that was so like off kilter for them, and it's like you got this weird band of characters. I mean, I say that I'm literally wearing this like $8 shirt that it has like Star Lord, but he looks like a cassette version of a Transformer. It's very cool. But I was like, I don't know why. Like Guardians is something about the way they did with the music, and
Hmm.
just like definitely, it was just really funny. I mean, like it funny in almost still a different way that other Marvel movies weren't funny. Like they were also like light, but a lot of them like the focus wasn't comedy. A lot of the focus in
Right.
Guardians was like heavy comedy. So it really worked for them because they already knew they're like, well, we've got these weird, a weird raccoon and a tree and a green girl and I don't really and an invisible guy, what are we supposed to do? Let's make it funny and add some, hit 70s, 80s tracks. That'll really distract
Yep.
them. That'll distract the people. And it absolutely killed it. It crushed it because I love that like entire series so much. But yeah, it's like, what were they thinking? I'm sure somebody was thinking, okay, the public's not gonna buy this. And then they did. We
Hmm.
ate it up. And we still eat it up to this day. And like, I don't even know. Especially, you don't even think about how they went without Spider-Man. I mean, we had Spider-Man films, and I still remember Tobey Maguire. Like that was
Yep.
still my Spider-Man. And then now I'm like, all right, we've got three Spider-Mans, but we had two still before it was a Marvel Cinematic Universe thing, and now we finally have him, and it's such a chaotic world. I mean, you look at I mean, you live in Orlando, and I remember like thinking, okay, it's the Marvel, that's all Universal. So when all that came out that they were gonna have be doing Marvel stuff and like contracts and all that crazy stuff, I remember being like, all right, but that Spider-Man ride they got at Universal, like I don't know if they're gonna top that. Like, what are they gonna do? Why they can't take that away from there? And recently I went to Disneyland in California because I had a couple friends from when I worked in Orlando, like, let's go, let's just like make that a trip. The world's opening up. Let's see
Hmm.
what's going on over
Yeah.
there. And they have the Avengers campus over there. And I was like, all right, it's time for us to see what that is all about. And they have a Spider-Man ride that they have that it's really neat, but it tracks your hands and like you're supposed to like capture these spider bots and things like that. It's really neat. It's like I've seen things like that before, of course, because I know they can do like tracking. I mean, I worked at a virtual reality place, so, like I'm aware that's something they could do, but it was definitely neat to see that Disney's like caught up with that technology because they probably feel like we gotta top the Marvel rides now. We gotta have the best Marvel rides. But
Hmm.
I'm like, still don't know if they can top Universal Spider-Man, but that's fine. That's okay. Because the visuals of the campus overall really were stunning. I mean, I felt like I'm in the Marvel universe at that point. And we went and we felt like, okay, well, might as well. We're gonna semi dress up because it wasn't Halloween yet, so they didn't really want you fully dressed or anything. So we all went as like
Hmm.
different Lokis. Oh my gosh, best thing we could have done was the three of us being different Lokis because the whole campus, like everyone who worked at that campus, was just obsessed with it, and they were so happy to see us. And then we did meet Loki and a lot of the other characters. It was just really neat experience and just the immersion that they did. It was the one time where I'm like, all right, fine, Disney, all right, fine, I'll give you credit for this little partnership you got going on here, I guess, because I can buy some shawarma, or an Ant-Man giant pretzel. Okay, fine. It was like they really had me.
That was one of the things that I was cracking up about when people were first posting their like early access to the campus was like the cost of like the food, and I was like, okay, well, I mean, it feeds 8 people, but dang, like I'm dropping $100. Like of course, if you're going to like a restaurant, of course you're going to spend some big bucks at a Disney restaurant, but like getting the giganticized food, like it cracks me up, but I'm still a lot of money there.
It is a lot of money. I spent too much money on the breakfast, and I was like, I get you're trying to go for like, yeah, but it's like Pym particle breakfast. Isn't that neat? And you're like, yes, but it's still sausage, eggs, and all. Like, it's still like you're not fooling me. So why am I paying like $15 for all this? But I was like, fine, I get it. I'm in this environment, and we truly did like. We were just distracted by everything around us. Like Doctor Strange does a whole magic show, which is just like, sounds silly in its head, but it was like still all of this is done pretty well. And I think they're going to put a ride. There's another ride or space that they have there that they clearly intend to put a ride in, but I think because of the events of 2020, they didn't have the time or I guess the funds
Yeah.
at the moment to do that. But I was still overall impressed, and it again made me want to fully put more energy back into just Marvel in general. I've been watching What If. Obviously, I'm caught up in all their recent series, and I know when Hawkeye comes out, I'm definitely going to sit down and that'll be my Christmas watch, I guess. They really emphasize that Christmasness out of it, waiting for that Rogers musical thing they like put in
Oh
there.
my gosh, yes.
It's
I
like,
hope we get a scene. I need
oh
something
my
from the
gosh.
musical. I need Clint to be watching the musical and being like, I don't remember that. That's not how it goes. Like I need a song though. I need a dance. I need some part of that show in my face.
Yes, I really hope that they have like at least like a song or like a little scene. That's the least they can do. I'm sure that they might do it because they showed a blip of like the dancing, but I'm like, I need to hear a song. I need to hear somebody singing and it be absolutely absurd. There's already some TikTok creators I follow, and I was just recently in a virtual, so silly. I was in a virtual Phineas and Ferb musical, and this creator was in it, and he actually helped write a song for when they did the Ratatouille musical thing. That was a whole thing. And he wrote a
Yeah.
couple songs that he was like, this would be perfect for Rogers the Musical. And they were really good. Like he wrote a song and this girl sang it as Peggy. And I was like, all right, Disney, I know you already filmed everything, but come on now, you gotta call them because they've got it all written and ready to go. Like this week, you could have an actual Rogers musical on our hands. I'm sure the people would see it. Of course, pay $300 for a Broadway ticket to see Rogers the musical when they could just watch the movie, I guess. But still,
Oh my goodness. One of the things that Marvel does is obviously there's a whole bajillion amount of movies, right? And I
right.
have to know, like, do you have a favorite? Is there one that stands out more than the others to you?
Oof. Of all the Marvel films, I'm like a weird person. I actually really liked Ant-Man, but probably, honestly, probably Guardians of the
That's not
Galaxy.
that's not weird. That's not weird.
You don't think liking Ant-Man? If people think they're like Ant-Man, really? I mean, I feel so bad for Scott Lang. He doesn't get a good rep for some reason. He's just like the comic relief guy. But I really
Gosh,
like that movie.
I love Scott. I love him so much.
Me too. That was another thing. My friend that we went with, we met him. Oh, yeah, we met him at Disneyland, and he was just truly just like dad all around, just dad jokes type of guy. And I'm like, and Paul Rudd, I love him. So it was like, this is just a match made in heaven. Like Paul Rudd as a superhero, of anything, he would be Scott. I just think that the comedic timing and just the way that movie was done, I just feel like totally underrated. So I actually put that movie. I really do like Guardians. Even the original Avengers, I put up high just because of like the memories that I have with it.
Hmm.
But probably those three. And I mean, I know like I'm sure the biggest answer, like the most common answer, would probably be like Winter Soldier or something like that. And I do like that one. I do feel like that was one of their really good films, but it's hard to choose, honestly. I still think I gravitate the most toward like comedy, like toward the funnier, lighter hearted ones than the like everyone dies and then that's the cliffhanger. Like, oof.
I totally understand because the top five is ever shifting, and I've heard because I haven't seen it yet. I haven't gone to see Shang-Chi because my two youngest kids are not able to be vaccinated yet, so I don't want to like go in and bring something back just in case.
Right.
So it's killing me because I used to like every Marvel movie would be where I would go and watch it by myself because that's how I do things. Because they're in school and they don't need to come see movies sometimes. Let me enjoy it.
Right, right.
But I didn't get to see Black Widow because I'm not paying the $30
Yeah,
on Disney
no.
Plus to do
No.
that, so I'll wait for that. But like I want to support Shang-Chi. I want to be like I want my money to be given to them and be like, see, I want movies with more diversity and diverse characters, just like Black Panther, and
Oh
get
my
like everybody
gosh.
out there, and so like I'm like really itching to watch it because I've heard a lot of people are like Shang-Chi top five.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I
I,
actually I like somehow it's like I literally mentioned it in this podcast and I still forgot it. That movie is definitely up there for me. It was really good. So of course, when you have the time, when you're able to see it finally, it's pretty good. It's pretty incredible. Like it is on par with Black Panther in like just I feel like stunning work, and I do feel like it's I don't know, I just feel like Marvel and Disney, they could have done more to promote it, and I feel like I hadn't been seeing a lot of promotion for it, but like the main actor in it, like he was doing all of the promotion work for
oh
them.
my gosh,
So,
yes, Simu Liu, yeah, because I loved him from Kim's Convenience.
yeah. It's like, why was he doing all the work? He shouldn't be having to promote his own movie like this because to them, it was probably just like some sort of experiment. It's like, well, we're not an experiment for you guys to play
Hmm.
around with. Like, we want to be seen. So I'm glad that it has like blown the box office away because it's absolutely what it deserves. And it'll show them that, like, hey, we want more of this. This is something we want more of.
Exactly. I hate to defend like the mega corporations, right? Because as much as I love Disney, they still do a lot of things that need to be fixed and be better about like pay and representation and all the stuff across the board. But I feel like they're like, okay, back in what Marchish, they're like, okay, pandemic's kind of winding down. We're gonna have vaccinations and everything. Let's start getting our movies out. And then it's like, oh snap, here's the Delta variant, and now we're screwed about whether we're going to have movies in movie theaters or not. Are they going to close down? And it's like, gosh, like I hate it for them, but I'm really happy that people showed up for the movie.
Right. I'm glad that, it's just a toss up. It's a hard thing, but eventually I'm like they'll recover. They'll recover. Things will be fine, and obviously enough people made it out to support that film, and honestly I'm feeling like when it even comes out on Disney Plus, there's probably people that like it enough that will pay for it, that will support it. But I'm hoping that
Hmm.
they take their time before they just slap it on Disney Plus. I know they've been doing that where they're just like, let's throw it on there now, but like, no, give it some time, because not as many people are going into the theaters, and rightfully so, just because everything that's going on. So it's just going to take some time for them. But I just, um, they know they have me wrapped around their little finger. Every time they put a Marvel movie out, I'm like, well, dang it, I gotta go see that, I guess, because I have no idea what they're gonna do with Spider-Man. Like 3 looks absolutely insane. There's
Hmm.
so many theories. I can't log online without somebody being like, I think Doctor Strange is really this or something, and
Right.
Peter and this is gonna happen, and Toby's gonna swing in, and you're like, all right, we don't know. We don't know. There was even somebody posted that like it was kind of silly. Somebody posted there's like they had a picture of oh my god, what's his name? My mom would scream because she loves him, but he plays, he's playing Venom right now. And he had the
Okay. Yeah.
hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a No Way Home hat. So they're like, is he in it too? Speculation. And we're like, okay, we don't know. We don't know. We're just all
Right.
getting so excited. So I won't theorize anything. I'll just wait till it comes out, and I'm sure it'll blow me away regardless because Marvel usually does.
Now, one of the things that I love about Marvel is, they have announced, like, okay, here's our movies and here's our shows and here's what's coming up for like the next 5 years, right? Of the stuff that's in the future, what are you most looking forward to seeing?
Ooh, that's a good question. Because I feel like they're going into a new phase, right? So it's like I feel like I couldn't imagine what they were gonna follow Infinity War with. So my brain was like,
Hmm.
okay, well, there really isn't much for them to do. But I am excited for like Multiverse of Madness because I know we're gonna see Wanda again. And I actually
Hmm.
do like Wanda. I mean, I know people are like, she's crazy, she's crazy. I'm like, no, I mean, yeah, she's a little bit crazy, but obviously we with WandaVision we found out everything going on with her, and of course I'm sure once she works through some of that she'll be on the good side yet again. I don't really see her as a bad guy so much as I just see her going through it. But like that, I would say I know Black Panther 2, I'm looking forward to that for sure. Cause I mean Black Panther 1 was stunning. And what was it? Thor. I think there's like Thor like Love and Thunder, right? That one
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I like
Yep.
keep forgetting about that one, but I really loved the last Thor, like the Ragnarok Thor. I
Yes.
think
Yeah.
that one was really another one where it was like the humor was just good. It was just so colorful and beautiful and just a fun film. So I would love to see if the Love and Thunder one has that same type of energy, and if they do have like female Thor, like what they're going to do with that. I don't know, I'm just looking forward to like because those are ones we really have no idea like what's going to happen. At least Multiverse of Madness we know is going to be Doctor Strange and Wanda, involved, but
Yeah.
the other ones, I'm like, honestly, I don't really know what they're planning on doing with those. But what about you? What about you?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I love that. You know. Uh, you know. We talked. There's always like all the movie stuff, right? And I know we'll eventually get X-Men in the future and mutants and everything
Oh
that goes along with them.
yeah.
But I want to talk about what if, because
Ooh.
for the love of everything, and there's two things that I would love. I would love to see either a series or a like a TV series or a movie or something with Captain Carter, because I loved her and I would love to see what an Avengers would look like built around her, as Captain Carter.
Ooh.
And then the other thing is, and this also wounds me because of Chadwick Boseman passing,
Yeah.
is I fell in love with him as Star Lord. T'Challa as
Me
Star Lord was one of those
too.
things that I saw. Like, you see the previews and you're like, okay, that's interesting. Oh, I don't know what they're going to really do with it, but dang, if they just didn't make it this wonderful, beautiful piece, and I'm like, I would have loved to have seen him like as Star Lord in the future, or more like what if episodes as T'Challa Star Lord Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, oh gosh.
Yes, I was thinking great minds think alike because I was like, this would make such a good series. And a lot of people were like, well, I like when Star Lord is flawed. I was like, well, that's just a different character to me. I feel like just Peter Quill is he is funny and whatever, but I just feel like something about whatever Chadwick brought to
Mhm.
like him being Star-Lord. I was like, this is just a whole different vibe. And the fact that we're getting like good guy Thanos out of this like was crazy. I
Right?
would love to see like more of the gang of them doing things, and like that would really work well in a series form, because I know like a movie that would throw people off, that would, it would
Yeah,
be in a
yeah.
different universe, obviously it would be really complicated but as a series, I'm like, I think they could have gotten away with it. That's what is sad about it with his passing, is like, it would feel weird without him, because he brought so
Mhm.
much to it. But I'm sure like maybe that was in their heads too, that I feel like a lot of people reacted really well to that. And Captain Carter, honestly, I would love to see like what her Avengers would look like, because I think it would be a lot different than Steve's Avengers. I mean, I say like not like he owns the Avengers or anything, but you know what I mean. Like,
Right,
what
right.
would she as a leader, and who would inevitably latch on to that gang, and what would the banter be like? I don't know. I would love to see like the dynamic of her sort of taking charge of them instead of him.
That's why I'm happy that they announced like that they're going to do like a what if like season 2, because every a lot of the episodes leave me with, I really wish I had like another episode to continue this. Like the episode where Tony Stark was rescued by Killmonger, right? I'm like
Yeah.
I'm like, at the end it's like, okay, Pepper and Shuri are now working together to take down Killmonger and like stop the Wakanda versus United States thing that's about to go on. It's like, I want to see like who would step up. I need more. Like I need information on like all these other heroes that could potentially be out there.
Right. I was like, because where the timeline's all different, everything. I was like, wait a minute, like, hold up, like this is all happening so soon. Are there other people that could step in? Because like it was literally starting right after Tony was supposed to be Iron Man, so it was already earlier
Hmm.
than everything would have been happening. So I was like, why are we ending? I was like, why are they ending it with just them having a conversation? Like I need them to do something, but because the episodes are so
Right.
short, so it's like, I was like, give me more, give me more. But obviously they probably were like, well, season two will just continue that storyline, if not, add a few more, because some of them obviously ended on a note where, okay, there's not really any they can build off of, like Doctor Strange ending the whole universe. Yeah, we can't really build off of that. But like other things, all right, yeah, we can see where that would go. Or like I know the one, I think, where like, Loki sort of takes over, like where was that
Hmm.
gonna go to? So I
Oh my
definitely
gosh,
feel like
yes.
they could do more. It's like, what are they doing? Like they just let him take over and we're just gonna like that wrap it up at that point? I love Loki, but come on now. So definitely looking forward to some more what if.
Yes, indeed. Well, Lily, we are we talked about Lilo and Stitch and we talked all about Marvel stuff. But what we haven't talked about yet is your wonderful cosplaying.
Yeah. I love cosplaying, man.
Now, how did you first get started? Like what was the attraction? Where did you get your start? Like tell me more.
Well, I have a friend to blame. It's funny because she doesn't cosplay anymore. But when my friend, like, so I was like, Sabrina, if you're listening, when she was 12, or I guess when we both were like 11 or 12, she was really into anime. So she was like, hey, this is something I'm really into. And I just started joining her and watching it. And I was like, oh, this is so fascinating. And I love the animation, yada, yada. That's how it all starts. And she went to a convention in Maryland called Otakon. That was like her
Mhm.
first convention. And I was like, well, that sounds like fun. Everybody dresses up. We're all like characters. I would love to do that too. So the next year, so I guess when I was 13, I went to Katsucon, which is a convention that's like in DC. And I was like, all right, well, what are we going to be? And at that time, we were super obsessed with Vocaloid. That was just like the thing at the time. We know they were just like characters that were this voice boxes essentially, but to us we were like, they're so fun, and they might as well have a story of their own. So I originally was going to order a costume to be one of the characters, but it wasn't going to get there in time. But by the time I would have ordered it, so my sister was like, fine, I've got a sewing machine, I can help make it. Give me $10. Classic older sibling things. So it's like, okay,
Mhm.
that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll do it for $10. That's a steal. So she made this little costume. It was pretty simple. And then I went and I dressed up with my friend who was Miku and I was Rin, and we did like there was like a group photo shoot, and just like that group photo shoot just like awakened like the joys of just like the fun of having us take photos all together with people we didn't even know, but we're all bonding over the fact that we all love these characters from the same world. And oh my gosh, I just fell in love. I was like, this is something that I will be doing every year now. It's like you've created a monster. So that was the first time. So I guess that would have been like 2012, 2013 or something like that. Or yeah, no, wait. I guess even before that. No, that would have been like 2009. I can't do math. I graduated high school in 2013. I'm old. I'm like, wow, I cannot do math. That doesn't sound right. But yeah, so I guess 2009, 2010-ish. That would have been, I guess, the first time.
Okay, so you've been doing it for a lot longer than some other people have been rocking the cosplaying world.
Oh, I'm a seasoned veteran, of putting on wigs. It's just fun.
What is your favorite thing about cosplay? What is the draw like that keeps you coming back to doing it?
Oof. Honestly, sometimes I have a joy in it, but it's usually the reactions of other people that I enjoy. My favorite thing when I really got into making my own costumes, because there was obviously a couple years when most of the time I would just like buy the costume. It was easier. And
Yeah,
most of the characters I was trying to be like, I was like, oh, whatever, I can just buy these pieces because I don't really know how to make things quite yet. But then I'm like, I'm a creative enough person. I was into the arts a lot and I was getting into theater, and I'm like, I can put my own cosplays together. So I wanted to always sort of like one up what I feel like, I don't know, like it might be a character where you're like, all right, we can cosplay that, but what can we do to that to elevate it a little bit that maybe somebody else wouldn't do? And so I would tend to pick characters that I already enjoyed and liked, but I was like, let me find something, if not just a prop or something I can make and add on to it that might be different that other people at the convention or wherever might not have done yet. And so I
yeah.
remember I did Vanellope, like from Wreck-It Ralph, and because I love her character, and I was like, well, let's make her. We're gonna take a big cardboard box and we're gonna make her car because I just think that would be neat. And like I just made it more wearable. I obviously couldn't drive it around or anything. I was like, I don't have the technology to be doing that. But I was like, let's just make it and we'll just wear it. And that just was a hit. Like that went over so well because I wore it recently enough after the movie had kind of came out. It wasn't like a huge spoiler or anything. And people were just like, wow, she can sit down and it looks like she's in the car. She's Vanellope. She's going to drive away. And I was like, wow, all right. We're never going to stop trying to find something in the costume that we can change or make to make it, I don't know, stand out even more than it might already. And so I had been doing that. I know another one I did was Anna. So many Disney things. Oh my goodness. But I did Anna from Frozen, but at the end of that movie, she's frozen. Like actually, she's frozen. And so I was like, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do her when she's frozen because everyone else is just gonna be Anna, and that's totally fine. But I really want to be some different take on her. And so I like painted myself blue. I had this wig that I dyed like a light blue, and I painted like these stenciled snowflakes all over this dress that I'd made. And it was just fun. I was like, well, there's only one pose I have to do because she's frozen in the same position. And I went and this amazing cosplayer approached me and they were dressed as Hans. And they were like, hey, we're doing this photo shoot outside. And there are these two twins, like the sisters. They were an amazing Elsa. Like they were an incredible Elsa and Anna. And they're like, we're doing a photo shoot outside. It's and there's snow and everything. We thought it would be really cool to have you and do the scene, where Hans is, gonna take the sword and she stands there and Elsa's on the ground. We'll do that. And so we took this picture and that was like the first like viral image that I've ever had or been associated with because I was like, people were like, that's cool, I've never seen somebody dress up that way. And so I was like, well, all right, check that one off, another one for the books. We've got to do these cool different take costumes now because that's what I enjoy doing, and it has a great reaction over people just really light up when they see something like that. So that's just my inspiration.
I will say, one of the things that I love to do is after somebody says yes to coming on the podcast is, I deep dive. I'm like scrolling all the way back as far as I can go on people's Instagrams,
Oh
and
no.
I had picked out. I'd picked out three cosplays that caught my eye. One of them was Frozen Anna because that is just wonderful. It's something I don't think
Thank
I've ever
you.
seen. Um, the other one, the other one is Kim Possible because I love Kim Possible. What a great
Me
animated series that
too.
was.
Oh, so another fave of mine.
Now
I
the next
will kick butt.
cosplay, the next cosplay that you did, I love, and I don't think I've seen anyone do it. Peppa Pig.
Oh yeah. The fun story with Peppa the Pig was that my friend, I live with her now, which is funny, but she joked and she's like, you know that scene where she hangs up the phone on her friend, like, we should do that or something. And then she never got around to it. And so she's like, one of us needs to do it. So I just went ahead and I like remade that scene, but like I did all the voices and everything, and I just like dressed up as Pep. It was so silly. I was like, I'm just doing this as a joke, and I put it on YouTube, and it did like pretty well. It's probably one of my first YouTube videos to like get caught in the algorithm finally. And people are like, wow, she really sounds like her. Like she really did the voice and the silly, like, what's he doing? Like my mom still, when I go home, she'll be like, no, and she messes with me all the time. But about like, so now Peppa is just like a running joke that I like Peppa. And even when I nannied, like those kids love Peppa, and I would show up and I have a Peppa shirt, a Peppa mask on. They're like, why do you have more Peppa stuff than we do? It's like silly. So I don't know. It's like I haven't seen somebody dress up as her, or like humanize her in any form. And that's another fun thing, is like humanizing characters that aren't, that aren't human. They're, whatever. They're not real. So I'm like, that's just a fun thing to do. I don't see a lot of that. I see like artwork of it usually, but not like the human form. And then yeah, Kim Possible. That was a fun photo shoot to do. I'm so glad my friend was down. They were like, "Yeah, I'll be Ron for you, and I'll make it." They made a Rufus like overnight, and we just like said, "Hey, let's take on Baltimore and go around the town." And our photographer was great, and just we found like an old bank, I think. And I mean, like I say old bank, but it had been turned into like a business room, and but the bank door was still there, like the vault door was cool. So we did a
Awesome.
whole photo shoot with that.
That is wonderful. I love when people can find like those type of like environments to take pictures in because it just adds some extra level of, you have the costume, you got it going on, and then you get like the extra stuff like with the photographer and the setting. It's like it makes things just work.
Right. And it's like whenever I like just and usually I end up just befriending a good photographer, and I'm like, they really have like a great eye for just like and knowledge of places. I'm like, I don't know where anything is half the time. Like I can live anywhere, and I'm like, all right, I don't really know what would work for this. And they're like, well, how about the old river off the west coast of this? And you're like, what? Like, okay, I guess that's where we're going. It ends up being like the perfect setting for that. So I'm definitely glad to have met so many wonderful cosplay photographers. Like some of them just, their work is so underrated in my opinion. And they know so much and how to light you right and where to put you. Even at a convention, sometimes they're like, we're going to make this tiny little rock corner work, and we're going to turn it into, the desert, whatever we need to do to make your costume look as
Hmm.
fantastical as possible. So that I absolutely love.
I definitely think it's one of the things where like I see, especially when I'm on Instagram, right? Like I'll scroll through and I'll like and comment and everything, but it's definitely something where I feel sometimes the photographers don't get enough credit, and it's
No.
like like I love the work the cosplayers do, but at the same time, like without the photographer, like you wouldn't see it in the way that some people get like their photos done, and it's like I just love the skill that certain photographers have and what they're able to just do with just like the setting and the photo and the cosplayer. It's like a harmonious magic sometimes.
Oh my goodness, it truly is. And some of them don't even recognize like the talent that they have. I had to like wear a Jasmine costume and like perform as Jasmine, and they're like, "Well, we'd love to get some photos of you, in the costume." So this photographer, it was like she really didn't realize how talented she was because so those photos turned out so wonderful. And she's like, oh, I won't even take any money or anything. And we're like, please, like, take the money. It was like you don't realize how hard you like put the work in. You're on the floor, you're like getting the angles, you're rolling around, you're holding up like a crystal to the lens, but just off the corner, so it like does this cool glare. And I was like, I couldn't believe the work she was doing, but she still was so humble about it. It's like a lot of them truly just, they do really love the work and they just love, I don't know, amplifying cosplayers in a way, but it's like I wish like they got more credit where it's due because we always,
Hmm.
we do want to look and compliment the costume and that's totally valid. But I feel like I want to hype up the photographer half the time because they're the ones taking the shot.
Exactly. Now, you've done a number of cosplays over the years. When you're picking cosplays to do, are you basing it off of the characters that you love, the costume that you see, and you're like, hey, I want to do that costume, or is it more like a combination of like a mixture of both?
It's kind of a mixture of both. I mean, like there are some characters where I'm like, oh, I remember liking that character a lot, or I don't know, I love that character, but I don't see people portray that character a lot. Let me give it a shot. I know like a good example was the show My Life as a Teenage Robot. I was like, I used to like that show a lot, but I feel like nobody talks about it for some reason. Did people forget about it? So I was like, I'm gonna cosplay Jenny just because it's kind of funny to me. I don't know, like I've never seen that done before. And so I kind of put it together. I just like thrifted it and it's like it just pieces that I could find at a thrift store to cut up and sew and fix up and then make these funny little like robot like ponytails like she has. And I did a couple TikToks and people were like, oh my gosh, like you just unlocked such a weird memory. Like I didn't even remember that show until I see you like dressed up. And I was like, honestly, I feel like I could fix her up a lot. I had somebody ask me like, oh, you're gonna, post more pictures, you could do a photo shoot as her. And I was like, I thought about it, but I need to fix it up. I really just sort of did it kind of just to be silly because I hadn't seen somebody do it. And I like tweeted about it too. Just like, here I am making the costume. And like the creator of that show liked it. I was like, oh boy, okay, well now I really feel like the pressure. Like I should bring that back. But I really just did actually like her character and I liked the show. And there was just not enough representation of it, in my opinion. But I'd say I tend to describe and take characters that I either feel like I can relate to a lot or just have just like a appreciation for. I mean, because like obviously there's characters that a lot of people are going to do at the same time. Characters can trend when a show is trending. Like even when
Hmm.
there was a phase in which I was really interested in like My Hero Academia, and like I still do like it, but there was like a time where, of course, I was like, all right, I need to be every possible character from that show right now. Like that happens. And then, you like, I need all the wigs, I need to be this. And then, like, usually you're like, okay, I don't need to do all of that. Maybe there's like one character, like for me, like Deku, I like him enough that I'm like, all right, he's a character that, yeah, I would bring back and I would find a way to make him new and different. But other than that, I don't feel like I need to be every single person. But there are some people, when a show comes out, they're like, all right, that show's been out, Loki's out. We're all Loki now, everyone's Loki.
Yep.
And I mean, I can't complain. I did Kid Loki, so it's fun to sort of join the trend sometimes. But just in general, I would say I pick the ones that I either feel like I relate to, or I just like their character a lot, and or I don't see it. I know with like Lola Bunny, like I had seen it before, but not like online a lot. And I know with like Lava Girl, especially, I was like, I've never seen her. Like, why not? Just why not? Sometimes.
Do you have any favorites that you've done where you're like, dang, I cannot believe that I did this costume and it was awesome?
Oh my goodness. Oh, that I can't. Wow, can't believe. I'm trying to think. I mean, obviously, that definitely was what happened when I did the Anna thing because I looked at all the photos and I was like, "What? Like, there's no way I did this." But then, like at the time, I was like looking at it later, like, "Nope, that was all me. Like, that was something I constructed. I put the work in, and it turned out really well." I would probably say. Oh my goodness. That's wow, you really stumped me with that one. Probably, honestly, like of the recent, it's so silly, but finished. I haven't worn her to a convention, but I'd done like a couple TikToks, and I was like, nobody really cares about it because this movie was so silly and weird, and it's just like a weird thing that I liked in my childhood, but like people remember it. But it was just one of those things, like Oh, what? That was deep in my brain. And I had finished a Lava Girl and I worked like a Halloween party like last year. And it wasn't even a party, it was like a celebration of this haunted house thing we had to do that was outside. I made the front light up and I spent a lot of time like constructing the bust of this thing because I was like, I really need the front to light up. That is a necessity, and I will not stand for it to not glow some sort of way. So I finally got it and it looked like lava. And I was like, that's what I wanted. Like that's like I got it, I did it. I was just proud that I like put all the focus in that. And there was another one which was super silly a long time ago. I don't even know, it probably wouldn't be on my Instagram, but I was a speed racer and I made the helmet and then his little car, which my mom thought it was cute because she was a fan of Speed Racer. She's like, that was my cartoon, that was my anime. And I was like, that's so silly. She was like, I can't believe you made that. Like it took deep on my Instagram, but she's like, good for you. Like you're bringing back this old classic character, and you made like 90% of that. Like I think my dad made like the goggles on the helmet, but besides that, I did everything else. So I don't know. I feel like there's just so many of them where like there's at least a part of it that I'm just surprised at myself that I like could have the attention span to accomplish and finish the whole thing.
Well, I definitely have to say, like, and for people that are listening, definitely check out Lily's Instagram and scroll through because there's a number of great cosplays that you've done, a number of great characters that you've done. Like you hit the nostalgia feels like every couple scrolls. It's like, oh, there's something I remember from my like teenage years or something where it's like, oh, I love that character back in the day.
Right. It's like I just want you to remember, like Wild Thornberry, sure, okay. Braceface, yeah, I'm sure you remember that for some reason. Like, just keep going back. You'll probably find something. I know I did like a Warrior Moana too, which also was just like a lot of feathers. So I'm like, that was whew, that was too much work. But yeah, just go on there, embarrass me like the oldest photo you can find, and you'll find some silly stuff. I mean, cosplayers, we all evolve, we all start somewhere. And I'm like by no means a seamstress. I feel like I'm much more of like an upcycler. I will go to the thrift store and I will work with what I can from there because it's already like mostly sewn together. Like I know how to sew,
Hmm.
but like I'm super impatient. So I always tell people who are like, "Well, how do I get into cosplay?" I'm like, just you really just, pick a character where maybe it's a lot more doable, where they might just be wearing like regular street clothes. I mean, you look at like MJ, like she's really just wearing a t-shirt and jeans. Like it was like there's not much to her. It's really just about how you capture and you can portray her, what you bring to the character. But half the time you can just hit up the thrift store and iron on a Spider-Man picture onto the shirt and you're good. Like you're ready to go. You're that character now.
Exactly. Now, the last question before we wrap up is the typical what's on your list? What characters are on your list either for the remainder of this year or for next year that you would love to do?
Oof. Oh my goodness. I feel like I did have a few. I really wanted to do, for some reason, I really wanted to be Giselle from Enchanted, but like her wedding dress, which is the biggest, poofiest, most annoying thing on the planet. But I was like, I've always wanted a giant poofy dress, and I really love Enchanted. It's one of my favorite, like, I guess technically it's a live action Disney film. I just love that one. And there was, oh my gosh, I feel like there was I think I wanted to. At one point, I thought about being Gamora. A lot of my friends were like, "Please, you make such a good Gamora." So that has been on my list because honestly, her outfit's not too complicated. And my friends really, really were like, "Hey, if you go to this convention, you want to join us? There is a what's that game? Yes, the Hades game. There is a couple characters in that. They're like, we totally think you could pull that off, but a lot of them are like really complicated builds. So it would definitely be a challenge for me because a lot of them are like gods, like Olympian gods. So it'd be like a lot of work that would go into it. But if I decide to be one of those characters, I think I would really want to put the time and effort to really like construct it right and properly and not just throw it together a couple nights before for a con, especially if I have to match the energy of a group. So hopefully somebody from that game. Honestly, I think of a new character every like 2 weeks that I'm like, all right, well, let's be that person. It comes out of nowhere. So don't hold me on any of these people. We'll see what happens. But half the time I end up thinking of a new character that I just like for the week, and I'm like, guess we got to make this in 3 days.
I can understand that. It's like, oh, shiny, something that I need to do right now. Get it done.
Right? Like, ooh, that's so smart. Okay, well, I'm adding you to the list. And, I feel like every cosplayer can relate that we have like a crazy list of just all the characters in the world we want to be. And I'm like, we probably would be 80 years old before we could be all these people. But, we can dream. We can dream.
Exactly. Now, Lily, for those people who have listened to this episode and they're like, dang, I want to check out what Lily does and see what's going on, where can they find you out there on the internet?
Oh my gosh, almost everywhere. Mainly on TikTok. You can follow me as at LeanMeanTrashMachine. Made it easy for you. It all rhymes. It's silly. But you can find me there. That's where I'm posting the most. I try to post every day. Instagram would probably be the second one. That's Lily as can be. Only reason they're not the same name is because I post a little bit more of myself on Instagram when I can. So that's Lily as can be. And then everywhere else, I don't really post much on Twitter. So if you're a silly person, you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm Lily as can be on there too. But, just maybe one day you'll turn on the TV and I'm there. Who knows?
That's right. That's right. Now, Lily, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule today to come hang out with me and talk, because I have had an absolute blast getting to talk with you.
It was a pleasure. I'm just glad that you invited me on. I'm glad that you were willing to listen to me blabble on and on and on.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/talesfromthefandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.